I'm just curious to learn how to not drop down so like where it hurts
So,
so bad.
the thing that what I try to do with most every single customer that I'm doing a demo for, and it doesn't matter if it's an ultimate upgrade, it doesn't matter if it's a new customer. So one of the things that I do to just test the waters of where we're at with the customer is when I've positioned the 3 sets. Before we go over price comparison, I talk about the ultimate, and then I'll talk about the basic set, just mentioning that it's the basic meat and potato set, family set. It's like, yeah, you get some of the highlights, you just don't get all of the toys that come in the complete set. And then we go through, cool, which size set do you think would be the best fit for you? They pick, right? So we're trying to create want within the ultimate set, obviously, right away. And then fast forward through price comparison, and once you go through price comparison, then it's like, cool, let me show you kind of the specials we got going on. Show everybody the Cutco kitchen. I would say, yeah, so just so you know, if you want me to help me take the next hour off, if you just want to do this really quick, that'd be great. If you want 2 or 3, I could really take the next hour and a half off, right? And then it's like, cool, in all seriousness, this is everybody's end goal, blah, 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 blah. Then we go through complete set. That's all the basic set, the family set, kind of pricing and things like that. Then I ask the same question that I just asked them, because they've already picked the set. So whether it's the complete set, I always just show all the options just so they don't feel slighted of, oh, I didn't know you had smaller sets, right? So it's like, cool, which set do you think you'd see the most value out of? They'll pick the ultimate set, right? And it's like, cool, awesome. So just, you have a couple options on color. You do the classic or the pearl. Do you have a preference on the color? They'll be like, I like the classic. Cool, do you like the idea of the cherry block or the honey block? And then they'll say, oh, I like the cherry. Like, awesome, great choice. Now, do you like the idea of splitting it over 5 months? Would you rather just pay for it? And if they just say something there, then I'll say the next question, which is, okay, cool. So if I was able to maybe do something a little extra special for you on top of the Cutco corporate discount that they sell it for you when you just buy it as a set, if I was able to do something a little extra on top of that, could I help you just go for it? Right? And that, again, I haven't offered anything. I haven't given anything for free. I have not mentioned anything outside of the fact that I just sold them on the set that they want. And it doesn't matter if it's the basic set, the family set, or the complete set. It's like, cool, we're vibing. We're figuring out the set that you want. And you just answered all 3 confirmation questions without any type of hesitation of like, well, yeah, I would just pay for it, but, right? Now, the great thing is when you're asking those confirmation questions, which we all have, it's like it just allows you to figure out, cool, where are we at in the sales process? Is there any uncertainty? Is there anything that I need to pop more fear bubbles with, right? Do I need to re-explain the trial period, right? So it's like half the time when I'm talking to a person that's like, yeah, I like the complete set, I would probably just split it up. And I'm like, yeah, so just as a friendly reminder too, as I mentioned earlier, like I've talked to Kareem a lot about this, talked to Brandon Brown a lot about this. It's like you have to mention things to people multiple times for them to remember it, right? So like also where can you add more like intentional pauses within your script? Like one of the things that I started doing within like my guarantee page is like when I show a super beat up piece of Cutco, I'm like, so yeah, so like my buddy in college, he put one on a burner of a stovetop, melted it in half, we sent it in, they sent us a new one. And so I hand it to him and I say, so this is the receipt. And everybody's like, oh. And all of a sudden it clicks. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, so you don't need a piece of paper. How many times have we said all that stuff, but we say it super, super fast because we said it a million times. So it's like, this is the receipt, right? Like if you break it, bust it, chip it. If you use one as a pry bar and break the knife in half, just send it in. They just send you a new one. So it's the same thing when you're positioning the sets. It's like, okay, cool. Like if you wanted to do something, could you do this? And they'll say, yeah, I mean, if we wanted to, we could do it. And then it's like, cool. Just as a reminder, the greatest thing about Cutco is because nobody, and again, you're just popping any type of fear bubble that could make, oh, I'm not going to do this today, or I need to think about it. It's like, how can I just get you to the point where you're feeling confident enough in the process that Cutco has allowed for our customers to try it out, make sure you love it. We know you're going to love it, but it's there just in case. So you can still take advantage of our specials today and not walk around the fair and think about it and probably never come back. And again, I'm not even mentioning that to them, but I'm trying to get all of those things to the point where they're like, oh, this just makes sense. I should just do this. So the amount of people that I close a homemaker or a signature or an ultimate on, it's like, cool, okay, it sounds good. Yeah, let's just do that, right? Because I positioned it. So as far as positioning, when I ask, okay, cool, so if I could do something a little extra special for you, right? Most of the time people will say what? Well, you can tempt me, right? Or
Sure.
maybe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so then I'll say, cool. So one of the things that people literally always come back for the year after I see Mrs. Jones after they buy their set for me. So again, I'm also like creating, like, people buy this stuff all the time for me. They come back and want more. One of the things I started saying this last couple weeks, I'm like, yeah, so Cutco's kind of like your favorite pair of pants or your favorite pair of shoes. You can never have enough of them. You're always going to come back. So again, Roger, you said that with your Lululemon example. It's like, yeah, welcome to the addiction. I've been saying that a lot. So it's like, okay, cool, awesome. So everybody comes back and they always ask me about the cutting boards. One of the reasons why they always ask about our cutting boards is they actually help keep your knife sharp. So I take one of the cutting boards that I have in the back. I explain it to them. I'm like, cool, so these are non-porous. I put it in front of them. They feel it, right? Feeling's important. They feel it. So the cool thing is this is non-porous. So that means it's going to get beat up, right? It's supposed to get beat up. Cutting boards are supposed to get cut up, right? But it's going to help keep your knife sharp for longer. It's got the lip catcher that catches the juices of the melons and the meats. On the bottom, it's got the little rubber pegs on the bottom as well, so it prevents slipping and sliding. Now, Mrs. Jones, if this got all super beat up and all super nasty on you and you sent it into Cutco with your knives, guess what they send back?
Brand new cutting board.
Yeah, fast learner, right? So the cool thing about Cutco, right, Mrs. Jones, these are forever boards, right? So these are literally the exact same thing as your kitchen knives. So if they break, like if they ever get beat up, just send it in, they send you a new one. So the idea, Mrs. Jones, is you'll never have to worry about buying and replacing your cutting boards because Cutco will just do that for you. One of the things also Cutco customers always come back and always add later is our straight edge sharpener. So something that I've been doing to kind of be a chameleon with my customers. I'm like, are you guys from Minnesota or Iowa, North Dakota, wherever you are? You guys from North Dakota? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but every single one of my customers in North Dakota just loves convenience. And everybody loves convenience, right? So like, yeah, so it's a stupid thing. But I'm like, yeah, so most of my customers, they end up coming back. I want you to imagine, Mrs. Jones, in 7 years, it's Christmas, and you're using the daylights out of your chef knife, right? And it's Christmas, and you're chopping all of the vegetables, and your chef knife is not quite as sharp as it was when you got it from me today, right? So a lot of my customers, I understand, feel a little frustrated that they might have to be without their chef knife over Christmas, right? Having to send it into the factory. So a lot of my customers end up coming back and buying our straight edge sharpener because this will take a dull Cutco knife and make it sharp again, right? After about 10 to 15 pulls, right? So the cool thing, Mrs. Jones, about this is not something that you have to have. It's just a lot of people end up buying it from me later just because it's a really convenient thing to own, right? So this is $53. All three of these cutting boards, Mrs. Jones, if you were to buy these later from Cutco, valued about $90. So what I'm going to make sure to do is I'm going to make sure to include all three of these cutting boards and the $53 sharpener in your set. Now on top of that, and I started doing this with Seth, which is when you pick up 5 gadgets, you only have them pick 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 2, right? Because it leaves them wanting more, right? So it's like, cool, Mrs. Jones. So if you were to pick up 2 of these 5 that you never had to replace, that they work better than anything you already have in the kitchen, and they were guaranteed forever, which 2 would you pick? Right, and throw them in front of their face, like Jason Jeffrey talks about, right? Throw them in front of their face. Because we have such small space in Minnesota, we just put all of we have all of the gadgets on a medium cutting board. So I just take the medium cutting board and I like place them on a platter for them, and they pick. And they say, oh, okay, right? And they do the customer thing where they're like, ooh, I'd probably pick the can opener and the peeler, right? And you're like, cool, awesome, great choices. Those are 2 of our most popular picks, right? So the peeler's great because the peeler, you can go both ways. You can take the eyes out of potatoes. You can take it apart. It's easy to clean. I've never seen a peeler be able to peel something as delicate as chocolate, but also peel something as heavy duty as a sweet potato. It does both. Fits righties and lefties, right? Because it fits both sides. This is also free blades for life, right? So this eventually wears out. You send it in, they send you a new one. Now the can opener is great because it doesn't leave a sharp edge on the inside of the can. So unlike with most can openers that should be called can't openers because they can't open anything, this actually works. The cool thing too about this, Mrs. Jones, is that you will also eventually, if you ever need this sharpened, you can just send this in. We had a guy that we know that does salsa, he did 2,700 size 10 cans, right? Before he ever sent it in for sharpening. So this will probably hold you for the rest of your life, but bless you. If you for some reason do need to send it in, just send it into Cutco and they'll just send you a brand new one for free forever, so you'll never have to replace your can opener forever. So Mrs. Jones, so what we're going to do for you is this. Again, all we need today is the 610 over the 5 months. Again, we're going to get you the full set that we talked about. We're going to get you, again, the attitude adjuster. You're getting the boning knife. You're getting those 12 steak knives at the bottom. So I just mentioned the 2 or 3 pieces that they're most excited about, especially if we're talking about an ultimate, because I haven't really even explained the homemaker pieces to a person that's picking an ultimate. It's a concept, right? And then it's like, cool, awesome. You're also going to get all 12 of those steak knives at the bottom. You're also going to get all of those pieces are all going to fit right in this block. I'm going to make sure to include all 3 of those cutting boards, that sharpener, and I'm going to personally buy you the $61 can opener and the $44 vegetable peeler as well. And then usually I just say, cool. And I just kind of duck below my table, just trying to create a little bit of space, right? Give them a little bit of thing. But if we're vibing, it's usually like, cool. So what do you guys think? And most people are like, they'll do the whole thing where they're kind of looking at their spouse and they're like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, let's just do that, right? But again, I talk about the cutting boards, the sharpener, and those two pieces that we're creating them, which is, again, not costing you technically anything with the cutting boards, but you're talking about them like they're the best fucking things in sliced bread, right? So it's like, how can you use the tools that Cuckle literally gives us that is not pictured on the paper that can add more value to this customer to get them more excited about buying from you right now? And again, you're starting with 2 fucking gadgets. 2, right? So if you have to drop the price, if you have to drop and add a pizza cutter, right, to the order to make them feel really good, right? It's like you're positioning yourself in a way where you don't have to give the boat to be able to do these things, right? Because the problem is when you give the boat, then you're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole when you're like, okay, cool, well, shoot, this person, I don't know if they actually are vibing or not, but it's like a lot of people, if they're not vibing totally, you're like, okay, pick 3. No, start with 2, and then if the person's like, okay, cool, we'll think about it. It's like, cool, awesome, let me write that down and da 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 da, right? So it's like you positioning the sets in a way where they're like, cool, awesome, this seems like I'm very excited about these pieces, is helping you in a way figure out if this is actually the right set for them, right? And again, if they pick a homemaker or a signature set, again, that also allows you to, again, still find out what you want. So I would say one thing that I've started, like this last 5 months, have been really intentional about doing is intentional about selling more ultimates, which again, I've sold more ultimates because of that. But when you show them the 3 sets, right? And before you talk about price comparison, before you talk about any of that, whatever set that they pick, if it is anything except the complete set, what do you have to do?
Not talk about like the complete set.
I'm not talking about like the complete set. So like if you're talking, so we've just sold the 5 knives, right? So selling the 5 knives, basically it's it. Sure. You mentioned the homemaker, you mentioned a couple of pieces in the signature set, right? And you say, cool, so which size set do you think would be the best set for you guys and your family? And they say anything except the complete set, what do you have to do after that? Nope.
You highlight the pieces that come in that set.
You got to talk about the pieces that come in that fucking set. Okay, so the reason why again, Seth and myself have sold way more ultimates is because the only 5 fucking pieces we talk about are what? The cleaver, the vegetable knife, the salmon knife, the boning knife, and the 4-inch paring knife. That's literally the fucking only things we talk about.
Well, how do you brush? Do you just brush over the petite slicer?
Don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't even mention this. Backtracking, right? So like if they say that if they pick a homemaker or if they pick a signature set, okay, what do they not know yet?
The cool pieces that come in that
They have
set.
no fucking idea what comes in those sets, right?
Sure.
So a lot of people, what they miss a step is like, cool, I'm selling the ultimate pieces, and they pick a family set. They're like, cool, let me go through price comparison. They have no fucking idea what's in the homemaker.
Yeah.
So there's zero excitement for the set. It's just a generic block set of knives that just has some knives in it, and they have no idea what comes in it. Now, you can still concept sell it, right? It's a basic set of knives. But if you really want to lock in a person to be like, cool, I'm going to buy this right now. I'm excited about this. Because the reason why people buy Cutco, guys, is because they're excited about it. Not because they're like, that's the reason they buy it.
Sure.
I have a question.
It fills a need, right? So basically, after you talk about that, you say, cool, so let me show you what comes in that set. If they pick the signature, I will tell them everything that comes in the signature because it's not an overwhelming set. It's not.
No.
If you explain everything in the ultimate set, it can be like, whoa, right, to some people, right? So again, the concept, people buy the ultimate usually because of the concept, right? 1 out of 10 people that buy an ultimate from me are like, cool, I need to know everything that's coming in it, right? But again, I tell the kids on my team, like, you should be able to explain a homemaker in 45 seconds and still create excitement about it. Because the 3 pieces you're going to talk about in the homemaker, you're going to talk about the forks, the spreader, and the butcher knife. That's it. You get a paring knife, you get a utility knife. This one's fun. Inflection, pause, intentional, right? It's like, cool, this one's fun. You take it out. It's great. Cut the tomato, spread the mayo, cut the sandwich. Mrs. Jones, you can also check yourself out. You can make music, da 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 da, B sharp, ha 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 ha. Right? It's great for avocados. You can pit the avocado, use the backside to get it all out. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? All of a sudden, it's a generic cake spreader, and all of a sudden, they're like, oh my God, avocados. Especially here in Texas, I imagine that avocados are a big deal, right? So then it's like, cool. Then you get an everyday small carving set. This one, Mrs. Jones, is great to get your husband out of bed in the morning. No, I'm just kidding. But this one's great for like pickles, olives, jars of cherries, the really tall ones. You're never going to get your fingers all dirty. It's also great the forks. If you guys grill, you can pick things up off the grill or out of the oven. These are built like a tank. They go through a 100-pound pull test. You'll never have the nightmare situation, Mrs. Jones, where you take a turkey out of the oven and literally one of your forks snap in half. And then you also get the opportunity to get the everyday vegetable knife, bread knife. You get the watermelon squash knife, so it's a little bit bigger, Mrs. Jones. It looks really heavy, but it's very lightweight. I always hand him the butcher knife. And then I'm like, you also get the brisket set. So your briskets, hams, turkeys, roast beefs, anything that's bigger that's coming off the grill or out of the oven. And then you get the scissors. And then you also get the non-stick utility knife for cheese, potatoes, and apples. If you guys ever cut things that are sticky, starchy, or dense, I'll usually show the video on my. So Brett Kramer did a video like 3 years ago on cutting cheese with the cheese knife, and it was amazing. Like, yeah, it just doesn't get stuck. You hand him the petite santoku, you hand him the hearty slicer, right? And usually I haven't even cut a penny yet, right? I don't cut the penny until after we talked about pricing too. So something that a lot of people have been doing is they're like, okay, cool. Right after you talk about the guarantee, what do you always do?
Usually
Cut the penny, right? So what I would challenge all of you to do is wait to cut the penny until you found the set that you've talked about and you've talked about pricing. So again, that's all Kareem. I can't take any credit for that at all, but it's genius.